got the Texans fan by the podcast. Jim Bridge, Fifth Ward, Crenshaw. You know the best out there. Keno, Fuck Diggity 713. To all my Texans Nation. If you feeling good, I want you to throw them H's up high. Yeah, like that. I see you. Let's swarm. Yeah, Houston, Texas, born and raised. Yeah, that's where I'm from. The best city in the state. Yeah, we stay turned up. This excitement in the air for the Houston Texans. We swarming all year, causing havoc, we wrecking. Coming off that edge, we got 5-5-5-1. Thing on the outside, locking down your number one. All about the swarm mentality. And the H standing on business is the way we operate. I rep that 7 like CJ, that 1 like Diggs, that 3 like Dale. H-Town, we doing it big, you know that 12 out here, and don't you never forget, better pick your poison, cause we got Joe in the midst. We rock that battle red, still blue, Liberty white, H-Town blue, drip galore, man, we so fresh, fire like the field. Shout out to the whole squad, chasing greatness, eyes on the prize, one goal, it's time to take it. Let's get it. Throw them H's up, throw them H's up, now you throw them H's up, throw them H's up, we throw them H's up, throw them H's up, let's all love for them Texans, cause them Bulls about to perform. Throw them H's up, throw them H's up, now you throw them H's up, throw them H's up, we throw them H's up, throw them H's up, let's all love for them Texans, cause them.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Texas Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host again, Matthew Briggs, and as always, I got my team swarm. A couple people are going to be right, like Crenshaw and Patterpool. But right now, I got my main man, the guy that needs to be heard. I got Mr. Keno the Messenger. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. What's good, everybody? Hope everybody feeling good.
And we got a special guest, guys. If you listen to In the Loop with our fan favorite, Figgy Fig, and my favorite because of the barbecue sauce, John Lopez, we got Mr. Reginald Adetula.
There you go.
There you go. All right. How you doing, Reggie?
I'm doing well, Good to be with you, fine fellas.
Thank you for finally coming on, man. We've been wanting you on for a minute because we love your work to do with with John and them. Figgy. Figgy's just a legend himself. So
100%. It's a great pleasure to work with those guys. So I just try and make sure I carry my weight, I guess.
Well, you're doing a great job of it. I know y'all played the song live on our show, but what do you think of our intro?
I think it's cool, man. Like I was jamming, obviously off screen as it was going, but I was like, man, I rock with it. So no, I very much enjoy it, man. Anything Houston, man, it really does. It warms my spirit. I've just had a fun time over the last 8 months. I've been back in the city, back home. Like it's been fun to be back in H-Town.
Absolutely. That was actually made by our man Keno and Crenshaw.
Hey, okay, I see you.
They needed something to give us to get hyped, man, boy, as ever. So, well, speaking of hype, let's talk about the Texans. Maybe how do you like this offseason so far? First off, I'll talk about the free agency. What was your thoughts on the Texans free agency?
It was very interesting, right? That is a word that I lean on a lot, but no, it very much was that. I mean, I still vividly remember being in the car line for the car wash, and I see that message come through that Laramie Tunsil has been traded, and I'm looking up like, oh, okay, so this is about to be a thing. Like that is a move that I did not know, and I don't think very many of us knew that they had the capacity to go for, like to then actually move on from Laramie Tunsil. I think we were all under the kind of thought that he is so good at what he does do well that all the other things would be, I guess, forgiven or overlooked. Obviously, there's the money facets of it, but they make that move, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to be a whole different thing. When it comes down to free agency, I keep coming back to this offensive line. Like that's the thing that looms absolute largest, and that's the part that I have maybe the most negativity for is the offensive line, because I think the refrain that keeps coming up is how much work, like, could it be worse? And the answer is probably no. Like, I think it probably can't be worse. However, I don't think that that's the bar to clear, considering like where you want to be as a team. Like I want to see this team actually be able to give the Ravens a whooping. I want to see them actually be able to give the Kansas City Chiefs a whooping or whatever have you. And I feel like I would love more than to aspire rather for more than just better than last year. But I do think that like they handled their business in the way that I generally think that a team should handle their business, right? They went into the draft and technically they had all of their positions kind of handled in a way where you go and you have the freedom to go do things. And they did that, right? And I love what they did drafting wide receivers. I know that's getting ahead of it. Free agency, I guess if we can consider it that, adding Christian Kirk, I thought was a really nice move to add a guy who, I mean, if you take him outside of the context of the contract, is a dude who's like a veteran who has like a level of speed element, which I think a lot of people were clamoring for. And then if you just look at, again, not quite free agency, but the maneuvering in that time period, I am still flabbergasted. They were able to take a dude who I don't think was going to be a additive piece for you next year in Kenyon Green and turn him into a starting safety in CJ Gardner-Johnson. So ultimately, like I keep looking at this and I'm like, I like what they did building a roster upon what they had last year. I just keep looking at the offensive line and I'm like, cross my fingers, hope that the idea of competition, hope that the idea of 5 of these guys will rise to the top and be able to be cohesive under the new offense coordinator. I can't operate in a place where I am certain of that. And that's the only thing that's kind of giving me pause.
Okay. So if you had to grade it, what grade would you give it?
I mean, I probably go B+.
B+?
B+ is probably where I go with that. Again, you gave CJ some weapons, and I'm not trying to consider the draft in this moment because I think that's where you rounded that out in some way. I definitely would have liked like a veteran guy, that not just a veteran guy, but a guy that I trust to be a starter in a way to be added on the offensive line. But outside of that, right, and then also you added depth to your linebacking core, added depth to your secondary, which was really top heavy. It was really good at the top, don't get me wrong, but it was really top heavy where you ended up with like Jeff Okudah out here getting 1-2 stepped off the line and such, right? I will never forget Kevontae Turpin telling him let's dance and taking him to the house, right? So those things I don't want to ignore. Like you definitely made your strength stronger. I just keep looking at that offensive line, and that's just a big question mark for me. Not saying that they cannot have an answer, and we'll find out what that is in training camp. But yeah, that still just keeps looking me dead in the eye.
All right, Keno, do you agree with his grading? What would you give it a grade?
The grade for the draft?
No, just the free agency.
Free agency. Okay, so to be honest, I'll give it around a C+ or a B. Of course, we did make some moves that we kind of expected us to make, as far as like a splash and maybe a receiver. I know we traded for Christian Kirk, which is it's a decent pickup. But I will say the draft won me over more than the free agency did. So I'm definitely excited about the draft picks. I know some guys like, dang, we went 2 receivers in the first 3 picks, which honestly that Jalen Noel made me more excited because it was like, dang, like we need that slot or speed guy. You know what I'm saying? I know we got Christian Kirk, but what if he go down? We got to trust John Mechie, but the fact that we went and got Jalen Noel after we got Jaden Higgins, that made me feel more better because I wanted Luther Burden the third. I wanted him, but you know what I'm saying? We got Jaden. Jaden is a unicorn, they may call it, or whatever the case may be. 6'4", he's big. He runs good routes, has great hands. So hopefully he can come in and be successful with us. I see it, but some may be like, maybe questioning it. But at the end of the day, the draft made me more excited. And then as far as the O-line, of course, a lot of people have their questions. I'm just more so not worrying, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Nick Haley is going to allow this offensive line to be successful. Because we know last year the coaching that played a bit of a part into the unsuccessful O-line. Like we had some guys. We had Lemmy Tosu. You know what I'm saying? We had Mason, which he went downhill a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So we had a couple of guys on the line, and it's like they just went down. And I'm not saying Laramie went down, but at the same time, he had some plays that was like, bro, what's going on? Like, it's a lot of miscommunication going on. So at the end of the day, that's one thing for sure I'm looking towards to see. How is the O-line going to gel together? Who's going to be the starters? Because it's going to be heavy competition. And that's one thing to be excited about, the competition.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got to give it to B+ just because both what y'all mentioned. No, Nick got rid of Bobby Slowick. That to me was an A+ in itself. Like we knew that was just it had to happen. And then you could say that the Eagles were just trying to manipulate their cap space, but we got a steal in C.J. Gardner-Johnson for Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green did not work here. Hopefully, he has the best of luck in Philadelphia. But man, boy, did we get a steal out of that. We got a guy who brings that swarm mentality that D'Amico preaches, and to me, that's what this free agency was all about, getting their guys right. Like, yes, Laramie Tunsil was a great tackle, but how many times we see him with his hands on his hip while C.J. Stroud was getting hit out of bounds or getting hit late? He was just standing there. He's not that swarm, kind of like a all me personality. So it just doesn't fit. And plus, that wasn't D'Amico's guy, right? He's been there, 4 or 5 years before D'Amico came. So he was just inherited. So I think it was time for him to move on and put his trust in Nick Caley. I agree with you. I think Nick Caley is going to, coach these guys, right? But and it goes with the draft too. It seems like they were playing for plan A, B, and C. If one guy goes down, they got somebody come bringing back Nick Barnett, going and getting Donald Roby. Like they're getting depth pieces just in case what happened last year happens this year. We're not, just like Reggie said, we're not seeing Jeff Okudah get out there and getting smoked by an undrafted rookie. You know what I mean? Like we can't be letting that happen. So yes, I give it a B plus, just because outside looking in is different, right? Like Reggie, you know this really well. You cover Houston sports, so you know a little bit more detail. Everybody on national media, the Texans are a joke. What they're doing, they're going to kill C.J. Stroud. But looking in, already being part of it, you see they're already killing C.J. Stroud. It can't get much worse. The dude second sack quarterback and the most hurried quarterback in the whole NFL. So nothing but up from there, right? So that's why I see it's B plus. You kind of agree, Reggie?
For the most part, yeah. Laramie Tunsil, pass blocking wise, I still want to give him his flowers, like he did.
Oh, absolutely, level, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when you talk about that, he absolutely be putting them hands on them hips, but that's a lot of times where that flag would come out and things of that nature. Like those are the things that really would kill you about Laramie. But yeah, man, it does feel like a B plus for me because it's just they answered a lot of these questions and filling gaps, and as you mentioned, like adding some redundancies to give them a little bit of a flexibility should they end up in those circumstances, right? You plan for being longer into the season in the sport that I like to call the car crash sport. Like guys get injured, especially when you add the dudes that have a little bit of propensity to get injured as well. So having a little bit of, hey, these guys can fill in, which I will say, I have not given them enough credit on the offensive line, having more of those guys. Although like some of these guys, I don't know what they have left, right? Ed Ingram, I don't know what he still has to give you. Even Laken Tomlinson, like I think he played all the games last year. That was a Seattle offensive line that was not very good and not very great at protecting Geno Smith either, right? And he was a part of that. So all of those things kind of remain in my mind. And all of that is, I feel like I'd also feel better about it if you had an offense coordinator that was a known commodity. And I'm not saying that I believe the Nick Caley, I've been doing that plenty, but Nick Caley will be bad at this by any stretch. I don't know that for certain. There's reasons to believe that he's coming in with some fresh things and some things that'll work. I just haven't seen it yet. And that's more questions that I have in addition to, I don't know who the five are going to be up front doing that. And they haven't had time in. So all of those things make me a little bit uneasy. However, like, again, I've got to give them credit for actually having at least some level of answer. We'll determine how good those answers are at the very least training camp.
Well, it kind of goes back to that swarm mentality, right? Like whoever wins that spot, that's who's starting. Like, like you said, they brought in, it has to be 15 guys so far on the offensive line.
17 offensive linemen, in fact.
Yeah. So, like, every position is best man available. Like, if you're not going to put your all, you're not going to start. And you're probably going to lose your job. You're probably going to get cut. Other than I can't think of the guy's name. The guy from Jacksonville in Minnesota.
Cam Robinson.
Yeah, Cam Robinson. He's probably not going to get cut because he costs $14 million. But the other guys, they'll probably be looking for jobs elsewhere if they don't hack it. But speaking on jobs elsewhere, I gotta say we knocked this draft out of the park. Again, it goes back to all the plans A, B, and C. Reggie, what was your thoughts on the draft? Were you hyped?
I understood, especially like that first round was the thing that kind of left the bad taste in people's mouth. People either got really locked in on day one on the idea of adding talent to the offensive line, which I'll raise my hand. That was where I was, as I think you can tell by looking at the free agency in the offensive line. I was like, yeah, you added guys, but how much talent did you add in that room? And yes, the schematics are going to matter, but I feel like ultimately sometimes we can get ahead of ourselves and not consider the Jimmys and Joes of this. I was like, go get you a Jimmy and or Joe early on, and they didn't do that. But I understand why, right? The draft kind of fell in a way that was weird, and we've heard enough to know that Nick Caserio wasn't just sitting on his hands. He was trying to find answers to get him in a place where they could get a guy that they felt comfortable. Sometimes it just doesn't fall in your favor. I appreciate and I respect making the pivot to getting value out of that pick and getting yourself to a place where you can make some selections. And then from then on, I actually felt pretty good about it for the most part, right? I loved, obviously, both of the wide receiver gets that they got. Myself and B. Scott were having a conversation at one point. I think it was actually on the show about the idea of having another big wide receiver across from Nico Collins, and that kind of duality that might exist there. And it's like, actually, Nico Collins is such a fluid guy that has all of these other abilities with his speed and everything, where what's this like? You're not having two plotting guys out necessarily. That would not preclude you from doing that. You would not it wouldn't necessarily make you a slower team if you have another big body guy out there. And lo and behold, that's the guy that they go get in the 6'4" Jaden Higgins, right? So this size ability, and especially like the opportunity to really have some sure hands is great. And then they circle back around and got another one in Jalen Nolan. I think you're right, Ken. The idea of this dude that has a lot of speed, that can test some things, and that has a little bit of overlap with Christian Kirk, who has had some injury issues, right? An opportunity to have another speed, like a speed guy, and especially with you consider like CJ Stroud. I know last year he got into that Pat Mahomes, bubble of we're going to cover the top, but he loved throwing the ball downfield. So giving him guys that can maybe try and add to that. I know Christian Kirk is one of those guys over the middle that kind of can probe deep as well, but more guys that can maybe tease down the field if you get there. Like, I love that. So like those picks are straight. I like the Ariante Ursary. Just give me a big athletic dude and who has some a good amount of experience. You're not going to get me upset about that guy and the way that they're going to use him. Beyond that, like there's some nice additions when you talk about like some depth pieces in the secondary. Woody Marks was an interesting one because I just really thought that you needed another running back in there that on the pure competition tip. And I love that it's a guy who has a level of understanding of blocking and then also can catch the ball out of the backfield, something I don't think that they did enough last year. Like they added a lot of the good profiles to what you need, especially in the players that it feels like are most likely to play. It feels like you answered the needs, but also got guys at good value and guys that I think are adding diversity to your attack. So a lot of tools, or in the way that I kind of like talking about it with football, is you gave your cook a lot of groceries, a lot of different types of foods, and now he has an opportunity, Nick Caley does, with CJ Stroud's input, heavy input it seems, to go and like make a masterpiece. Give me a fantastic, good smelling, good tasting offensive dish. And I think that is now the charge in front of Caley as he steps into this.
Yeah, absolutely right. Like I said earlier, it just seemed like they got plans for everything, right? So, what would you give the grade for the draft of the Texans?
I thought the draft was probably an A-. I think that was definitely in that space. And I mean, there was some moving and shaking. If you want to get into like value type stuff, like that, those are things that you can talk of. I did appreciate, although I did say like kind of some of those middle rounds in late day 2 into early day 3. I did appreciate that. Hey, this is just depth on the defense. Like you had a really good defense at the top. There were some pieces at the end, like get some guys that are young that can start filling in those roles. I like that. I don't know how much to weigh that. But, like value stuff you can maybe talk about, but ultimately they got all the things, like they've covered up all the places that I think you could possibly cover up. And now, again, I just keep looking at the offensive line. Like I would have loved to get a second guy, just more people to throw in there, but they got a lot of people in there. Eventually they'll find 5. And I just hope that it is good enough to then allow all the other pieces to flourish. But yeah, man, they did a damn good job in the draft.
Okay. Keno, you agree?
Yeah, I would like to piggyback off what he said as far as like all the draftees. Like, just to think about it, they picked a lot of guys that was at the Senior Bowl. So they got some guys that's very seasoned, You know what I'm saying? Of course, you have to play at least 3 years before you go to the NFL. But at the end of the day, a lot of the guys play 4 or 5 years. So I'm like I said, I'm very excited just to see where these guys going to fit in. And of course, I believe at least 3 of them are going to start. I know for sure. I feel like Tay is going to start. Whether it is, I know they said he's going to play tackle regardless. Me personally, I feel like it's like Nick said on 610, like he's D'Amico said he's going to play tackle, but you never know what happens. You know what I'm saying? Things could change. He might end up at guard. And I think regardless, he needs to be on that field because he is the definition of swarm football. Like he's a violent guy. He's gonna get to it. So I really can't wait to see him at left tackle because of course that's what we want to see him in eventually. If it's not this year, this year we do have Cam Robinson on a 1-year deal, and most people like me, I see him starting. Of course, like Matt said, we paying him 14 mil. I think he's going to be on that field for sure. So regardless, and the good thing about Cam Robinson on the 1-year contract, I feel like he's going to be hungry. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, this is a make or break for me. I mean, yes, he can find another team if we don't re-sign him, but at the end of the day, he got to put some good work on that film. So that and it's a couple of guys like Titus Howard. He's going to be coming up after 1 year. He got 1 year left on his contract. So, and as far as the draft, the grade I'll give it is a B. I'm gonna give it a B. Like I said, I did want certain guys, but it seems like every year I want somebody if we never get them. So it just at this point, I'm just like, it is what it is. The guys we got, I went and did my research on them, and I like the guys. Like I said, we picked up Jaden Higgins. I was expecting a guy like Luther because he's not small. He's like 6 feet, but he's fast. He's explosive, make big plays. So I was kind of looking for that to be on the opposite side of Nico. And, of course, with Christian Kirk, but they went to Jaden Higgins route. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you can play Nico pretty much anywhere. You can move him around. And I'm pretty sure you can do that with Jaden Higgins as well. But, of course, he's going to be on the outside more than anything else. So, probably most likely playing that X position. So, at the end of the day, I'll get a draft a B. And I'm just very excited for these training camps, for the preseason, and, of course, the season to start.
Yeah, I had to give it a B plus, right? I like kind of an A almost, like Reggie got, but like you said, going to later rounds, you knew there's depth pieces, and you know why. Like even the receivers. How many years in a row now have we went to the playoffs with just Nico Collins as our weapon, and everybody sees the outcome. We get bounced out the second round. Like now we have more pieces just in case Christian Kirk goes out. Just in case somebody goes out, we have more than just Nico. Because, I mean, CJ Stroud is a great quarterback, but when you kind of handcuff him a little bit, it's hard to get what you can out of him. You know what I mean? So, and also, like you said, getting the depth pieces for the defense. When Jalen Petrie went down, when Kamari Lassiter went down, what happened to the defense a little bit? Kind of took a step back for those couple of games. Now that you had a guy like Jalen Smith, USC, he plays those roles really good, where he can come in and help out, and then there you go. So, like I said, this draft was all about plan A, plan B, plan C. If this guy goes down, this guy goes in. This guy gets hurt, boom, boom, boom. If this guy pulls an Aziz outside here, he gets suspended for 4 games. We got somebody coming in. You know what I mean? Like it looks like Nick is like seeing the big picture. And I know we use this a lot, but it's like he's playing chess, not checkers. And that's why a lot of Texans fans, like you said, I get it, Reggie. I was kind of that same way too. Like, come on, man. Let's get that big old T-bone we see right there, right?
Yeah.
Like, we hungry. Like, let's get that T-bone. But I can see where he's like, well, we're going to sell that T-bone, and we're going to get 3 big old chops instead. So I see it. You just got to be like I love that the metaphor that you use. Went and got a whole bunch of groceries. Now Nick Cacero's out there. He's cooking. Now we just got to see come September. We got to see if it's a masterpiece or not. We just got to be patient. That's the bad thing about the Texans. It's a waiting game. But now it's a waiting game that we haven't seen in a while. We on top. Like we're slowly but surely getting to those names. Like you said, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills. I mean, we already proved that we beat the Bills. Now it's time to beat the Bills when it matters. Now that's what we have to start doing. But yeah, I love the draft. I gotta give it a solid B plus. But you can convince me to A minus. But yeah, B plus for sure.
And I mean, like, it's all relative. I think I have a little bit of a I guess a curve that I'm grading on to some degree, because I think that Ken, you made a great point. Like, when you talk about the kind of age relative when it comes to these guys coming in, it feels like that is again pointing to the idea that this is a team that they know where they are trying to contend. So you want to get cheap young guys, but also get guys that, hey, as they are closer as much as possible to potentially helping if they need to be in that space to help pull the load towards, contention. So yeah, no, I think I had that. And I know that Nick Casario's talked about it, right? Like, all of their draft evaluations have to do with not just what the player can do, but also the role that they might serve on this team. And I can see all the places, right? I can see all the roles that you might be able to line up for these guys that they brought in, and see how many think you can roster all of them. So it'll be again, as the word has been, good competition to see how this team kind of turns out for September, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's take a step of, now that we got all the pieces, now it's time to mold this 53-man roster, right? Now it's time to see who's the starters. Since it's kind of simple, I'll start with the defense. Do you see any different defense other than C.J. Gardner-Johnson be the starter? Do you see anything that surprises you?
Nah. The starters should look largely the same. I think the one place that I'm interested in seeing is I was about to say not even talent wise, because I think we have enough film to know that when Christian Harris is indeed healthy, that he is a talent that you slide alongside Azeez Al-Shaair and you go just profit. The question is just how healthy is he? But again, you have backup for him. Like, you have contingencies in that space. Henry has played up to the standard of what you asked him for. Like, he's not like an incredible coverage guy. And even that, like, there's probably some data in there that you can look at and say, actually, this might be a little overstated to some degree. Maybe more so with Jalen Petrie, even in that space. But like, all those guys that have held those roles, where you look at across the defensive line, rather, whoever you want to start with, right? I think they just brought back Foley today, which I was very happy about. We have him there. You have Sheldon Rankins, you have Tim Settle, you have Mario Edwards. Any of those four dudes kind of getting your quote unquote start or whatever, being a part of your minutes. Feel great about that, right? Your edges. Do we even need to talk about that? That is the scary part of this defense, outside of also your outside cornerbacks, which you got one All-Pro, you got another dude who, probably did not even get enough of the accolades that he deserves in Kamari Lassiter. Kalen Bullock is, an incredibly ball hawk, and I think that there's still room to grow when it comes to making sure that nothing goes over top. And we saw some of that growth as the season went on. You mentioned C.J. Gardner-Johnson coming off of a Super Bowl as a huge contender, and then Jalen Petrie, who, he seems like he latched onto that role completely, and the only reason that you did not see him on the field is because of a broken clavicle, right? Like, those are the things that you look at all 11 there, and you're great. The thing about the defense is, like, I'm not worried about starters. It's just, now do you have the guys to churn them over, so that in the instances where injuries pop up, or just, hey, there's a substitution that's necessary or what have you, you got the next guy that can step in, and you don't feel that fall off, or you don't have that weakness the teams can try and pick at. And even with those whatever so-called weaknesses, this was a team that was really, really tough to deal with defensively. Like, you had good quarterbacks, especially in that building at NRG, stepping in and looking woeful. Like, I have no qualms what this defense will do, especially because D'Amico Ryans does a great job of taking the level of play, that whatever players he has there, and elevating them. I feel great about this defense because it feels like it's impenetrable right now. And maybe this is just like the hope that springs eternal during this time of year. But there's a lot of like a baseline for that, seeing the way that this defense played last year. It feels like they'll circle back up. And I know turnovers are not something that you can necessarily bank on year to year, but even the baseline of what they do feels like they are starting the conversation as easily top 10, and can they be a top 5 defense in this? And I don't know what more you can ask for.
Yeah, right. Like you said, all those tears from us losing that Kansas City game is now blooming flowers of hope and redemption, right? Like, it makes us pumped. And like D'Amico Ryan's his defense is all about swap reps, right? Like he likes to swap out players. Like he likes to give Derek Barnett, which I think that's one of the most underrated re-signings of the season. Derek Barnett, if he's on any other team, he's probably a starter, right? He probably gets 7, 8 sacks maybe.
Right.
Like he's a guy who could produce. And then, like you said, Foley, you bring back Mario Edwards, and then you got Tim Settle, who was a sleeper on this defense last year. And then you bring a guy who was a sleeper on it a couple years back in Sheldon Rakins. So, like, it's pumped, right? And then you just named that secondary, and then you forget when healthy, you got Jimmy Ward.
That's right.
Right. Jimmy Ward is our backup, right? You know, that's crazy because a couple seasons back, he was Pro Bowler and all pro type. So now that you got him, we don't know if he's going to be a backup, right? He might take some reps from either Petrie or Bullock, but who knows, right? Like I said,
better be a backup.
Yeah, it's like I hear where you're coming from. I feel like he absolutely serves as a backup, but a very, very good one where you feel no drop off. But yes, it feels like like you got a young guy in Kalen Bullock, you got a guy that they absolutely love as an organization in Jalen Petrie, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. You gonna tell him he's a backup because
he's not getting no reps taken from him. You're gonna have to pry him off the field for sure.
Jimmy will be all right. What was his injury again? I forgot. Was it a foot or?
That sounds familiar. In this moment, I'm forgetting, which is bad.
Yeah, I think it was. I wonder, like, how long is his process of even getting back? Like, is he going to be ready when the season starts?
Yeah, I can't say that definitively, but it does feel like that's going to be something where he's ready to go when the time does pop back up. Because it was the foot injury, and he had surgery over the offseason. And of course, like when D'Amico was talking about it, he basically said, he's nearing a return. And I mean, we still got some time before we get to all the actual work that's going to be done. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's get to the interesting part, right? Let's get to this offense. Because, I mean, other than the quarterback and running back and wide receiver number one, we have no idea, right? So, Reggie, I'll start with you, brother. What do you think this offense is going to look like?
That is a question. It's a great question that I don't have an answer to. Like, I wish I could tell you that I had a good answer to it, but I don't. Like, that is something that I have been consistently kind of pondering over because Nick Haley has not called an offense, right? Like, we're still getting a feel for what it will look like. Now, of course, you talk about the influences with the long amount of time that he did with New England, the amount of time that he's done with under Sean McVay there in Los Angeles. It feels like it's going to be kind of gap scheme when it comes to like running the ball football wise. And I do feel good about that because like gap scheme is just so much more rigid when it comes to principles, right? I feel like there's more understanding and there's more, I guess, concrete rules that your offensive linemen are working off of and knowing exactly where they're going and where they're working to, at least, I mean, in theory, right? Ultimately, how you actually get it done still matters, right? And it's that, it's team to team. You're going to need to make sure you execute. But I feel like that ends up more clean, right? If you have it that way, which probably is a good thing for this offensive line, considering last year. The passing game is the thing that I just don't know about. And maybe this is where I lean into the idea of CJ getting more opportunity and maybe, probably his best, the coach that knows him the best on the staff in Gerard Johnson, probably having some hand and helping craft that passing offense as well with Nick Haley. And I would just lean on that experience because you just go, hey, you have the guys out there. And if he holds up, I trust CJ Stroud to make a little something out of nothing. But yeah, man, that I don't have a great answer for you. Like everything is like pure speculation. And that's the thing that I keep coming back to with this is I would feel a lot more comfortable understanding how this all fits together if I have the IKEA, instructions, right? What does part A go into part C and everything, right? I don't have that. So all of these pieces look kind of good and I can maybe get a general idea of how it fits together, but I'd be lying if I told you I knew exactly how it fit together. And I am very intrigued to see what that actually looks like.
Well, we were getting, like you said, nobody obviously knows, right? Like that's the good thing about the brain matter of Nick Cassera and D'Amico Ryan's. Like it's so shut. Like nobody's going to figure out what's going on till it happens. Like the draft, nothing. but it kind of hints that we have somebody on the offensive line that he might become, a vital part of this offensive line. And Henderson, as now, if you had to guess, who is the starting five for our offensive line?
My best guess is, I mean, Cam Robinson feels like the one that's fairly evident, right? You sign a free agent, as you mentioned, decent amount of money with it. Cam Robinson at left tackle. I was still kind of operating on the idea that Titus Howard, who came in, it feels like there's a level of confidence in his guard play when he made that transition last year. It felt like he was much more open to it. And considering the size that he has and probably the way that I look at the rest of these guys, it feels like he might play guard this year. So, I mean, I don't know if he's left or right. He played left most recently, but I don't necessarily have a good option for right. But one of them guards, I think if I had to go with one of the two centers that you have in there, I'd probably go Jarrett Patterson, just off of that's where he seemed to handle some of the kind of assignments that you would have to have up there when it comes to communication. Better than Juice did. Although I will say, I do wonder if CJ now having more of a say in the offense has him take a little bit more of that responsibility in calling out protections and coverages to where maybe they go with Juice, because it feels like, I feel like Juice wouldn't have started last year if they did not believe that he had a little bit of a leg up. Ultimately, we'll still see what that looks like when those guys get into camp. But still, I'll lean to Patterson right now, but that one feels like that's a toss-up. And I do still wonder like how strongly they feel about Juice playing guard. I don't know that I feel great about him playing guard, but I wonder how they feel about him playing guard, to where maybe he could, because he's played all three of those interior spots last year, right? He played left guard when he had to slide over there. He played center clearly, and he played right guard once Shaq Mason went out late in the season. So I do wonder if they would want him to maybe move around. We'll see what that looks like. But I feel like Laken Tomlinson, the way that they signed him, I think that he's a starter. He's been a starter. Again, I had my questions about what that starting looked like last year with Seattle, but he was a starter for all them games. I feel like they might have a level of comfort with him, at least to start with. And then right tackle, maybe it's Blake Fisher, or maybe the young man, Ariante Ursary, like gets up and takes that job, although he be playing on the right side, which is a little bit different. I'd be interested to see that. For some reason, I cannot get myself into thinking that Trent Brown will be like a starter. And it feels weird because he's a big dude. You went and you got him. It feels, and he has a level of familiarity with that kind of Patriots system. I just, for some reason, can't get to that place. And I don't know why. And I might just be flat out wrong about it. I just don't see it. But yeah, those are the ones that immediately come to mind in the longest way possible, I think.
Okay. Keno, you kind of agree?
Yeah, most definitely. For me, it's I can't really say who will start or just have a guess on it. I'm just more so like I just can't wait to see the competition. Like literally, like who wants it more? That's what it's all about. Of course, I feel like the Cam Robinson is more like a for sure starter, and me personally, I definitely feel like Tay will find his way in starting on his O line as well. And to talk about Fisher is kind of like at the end of the day, it's competition. It is what it is. This is a sport. Like everybody got to compete. It is what it is. Nothing is given to you. So I know we took him in the second round last year, just like we took Tate in the second round this year. But at the end of the day, that right tackle, I'm not sure. I feel like who knows? Maybe Titus could go back to right tackle. We just never know. I know we got Brown, but like Reginald said, I don't see Brown starting. I think he could be more like a swing tackle. Maybe we need to get more alignments on the field. He might be out there, but just I'm not really sure who would start at right tackle. But I just know that competition is like, to me, it's through the roof. Like whether people believe it or not, I know people have questions, but at the end of the day, when you have this type of situation to where it's like, all right, like, hey, who wants it more, and like nothing is guaranteed, I feel like that ups the competition and that ups people like hunger, you know what I'm saying? So because you have guys that really care about this game, and I feel like they got rid of some guys that I wouldn't say they didn't care, but just didn't have that sense of urgency when we needed them to have it. So we shall see. I'm definitely like, I think CJ going to be fine because at the end of the day, like we go back to his rookie year, we like the line was.
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah,
was
it
about to say
wasn't
the same
really
thing.
no top guys, but all them guys was eating like they was hungry. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we had a couple of guys that was on 1-year deals, and George Faint, and I can't remember the other tackle we had. But anyways, we had some guys that was on 1-year deals, and they was hungry. They wanted to make something happen. So I feel like we kind of gonna be in that same situation coming in this year. But at the end of the day, I just hope it's more consistent. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, and it's really it all falls on Nick Haley in a way, because however he sets this offense up, that then we will know if CJ is going to be protected. You know what I mean? Like the type of offense we run. And then also CJ going to have to step up to, you know what I'm saying, be more of a leader, be able to change the stuff like supposedly Bobby Slow it didn't allow him to do. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and we're going to find out. You know what I mean? We definitely going to find out. I'm not too worried about the O-line because I believe the system is what's going to really be key.
Coaching,
Yeah,
I think is
coaching and the system is what's going to be key. If CJ don't have to drop back and take 5, you know what I'm saying, 3 to 5 seconds, if he just drop back, of course, 1 to 3, and make a quick read, if that's what we're going to be on, that's going to be great for us. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it don't have to be quick all the time, but at the end of the day, majority of the time, you need it to be that way because you don't want your guys to get exposed. You know what I mean? You don't want your line to get exposed like Kenyon Green was getting exposed last year. Shout out to Kenyon Green, though. I really hope he, you know what I'm saying, find his home in Philly and be able to be successful there. But, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what we're going to look like with this line.
Yeah, I have to give it like everyone says, it's Cam Robinson for sure, left tackle, right? I have to go with kind of what Kendall said. I think Tay takes the left guard position, and then of course it's like Reggie said, it's a toss up, right, between Patterson and Juice Scruggs. Like who has the better showing in camp, and then right guard, man, I'm kind of on the hype train because of Corey Barrett on Twitter. I've been looking into his game tape.
You're on LD?
Yeah, I think Henderson takes it. I think Henderson takes it at the right guard position, and then I'm going to take Titus Howard at right tackle. But here's my hot take this early in the season. I don't think he finishes at the right tackle starting wise. I think.
Who do you think take that spot?
Fisher.
Fisher? Okay.
Yes. Only because of how many years have he been a Texan, and how many years has he been healthy the whole season?
You got a point, yeah.
He kind of has the injury bug, and it's no knack, right? Like Reggie said, this is a car crash sport. Injuries is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I take it, but I mean, look at San Francisco, and between Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. Alex Smith was having an MVP type year, like he was playing ball. He got hurt. Colin Kaepernick took the job, and that was it. Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady. I mean, the story of the GOAT. We've never seen Drew Bledsoe in the Patriots.
Matt, I'm not gonna lie, Matt. You kind of, I don't know if you get anybody else worried, but you get me worried a little bit talking about quarterbacks. We don't want to have it. I get what you're saying.
No, but CJ, I'm just saying.
You trying to set up for the Graham Mertz takeover? Is that what's happening?
No. I'm just saying.
You talking about quarterback? I'm getting nervous.
No. Our quarterback is safe. Like he better be safe. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Sadly, injuries are an opportunity for some guys, right? Like they take the spot, so I can see that happening. But like you said, I believe in coaching. I believe in mentality, and I think we're going to be right. Like his rookie year, we had a top 15 offensive line, and it was just the way we had it right now. Just makeshift people, plug and play. And again, D'Amico Ryans likes to rotate players, so this is up his alley. But now when it comes to Trent Brown, now this is my theory. I could be wrong. Let's see what y'all think. Case Keenum was a backup to C.J. Stroud, kind of a coach, and he had heck of a rookie campaign, right? Trent Brown come in. I mean, he's been banged up, so probably not going to take the spot. Sit on the bench, teach these guys, hey, this is what you need to do. Kind of that role, that coaching role position. Reggie, you think I'm onto something, or you think it's all smoke and mirrors?
No, I do think that feels like it could be a large reason why Trent Brown is on this roster as of right now, is the familiarity that he brings with what I imagine Nick Caley wants to do to some degree with this team. The only thing that makes it tough though is it's only so many offensive linemen you can roster during the season, and even fewer that you're going to have active on a game day. And I don't know if you want to have a dude on the roster who's just over here talking to you, right? And the quarterback, yeah, that's fine, right? We have this dude over here on the roster who's we hope never sees the field. Offensive lineman, and yes, I guess you would be in that same place where you kind of hope he never sees the field because your starting five is always there. However, that's a lot less likely to happen, big fella. And I don't know. Like, again, I don't know how they feel about Trent Brown, though. I am operating with my assumption where I don't feel great about him playing, but I do like the mentality and the information that he has. But yeah, if they are feeling like I am feeling, I don't know that you roster Cat just because of that. But again, like, it's so hard figuring out which of the 17, even going down to like the likes of, like you mentioned, LD, when it comes to Ladarius Henderson. Like, I don't know what that looks like, and I feel like because it feels like there's a lot less variance from the top of your offensive line to the bottom of your offensive line roster right now. I don't have a great time trying to parse out which of those guys are the ones that you ultimately roll with. And so we'll see what it looks like. But I think the top end, there's a few of those guys that it's clearly in the mix. But also, it really just depends. And I do feel confident that there's not enough attachment to the guys at the top end of this that they would not just roll out the guys who perform the best in August.
Right.
I have a question. What happens? What is the cap if we cut Titus after training camp?
Ooh,
and, like what is the money that we will owe him or whatever the case may be? Because that's something I'm kind of thinking it's very possible in the way, just depending on the money, if it makes sense. Because we know, like, Titus is a good talent. He's serviceable, but at the end of the day, how is his attitude coming into, you know what I'm saying, this training camp? That's something we got to look at. Like I told Matthew, like, that's the guy that I'm looking at to see, like, how he's going to react after the tussle trade. You know what I'm saying? Is he going to come in, all right, let me put my head down and let me show, you know what I'm saying, like, my big brother out the way, now I got to come in and try to be a leader myself or whatever the case may be, or am I going to come in, like, not with the right attitude and lacking and just out there just to be out there, which I doubt he'd do that because it wouldn't make sense. He has 1 year left on his contract, but at the same time, can he act in a way to where he want to get cut and just go to another team? They got rid of my buddy, and I don't know how I feel about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're talking about. I just don't see that happening one bit. And on top of that, it is not cost effective. It would be $11 million of dead cap, and you would save like 47 or like almost $500,000 maybe. Like, it's the benefit isn't there, and I think also that would make me really uncomfortable because regardless of how you feel about Titus Howard, right?
Yeah.
I've already lamented the top end talent on this offensive line. That feels like you're making it shallower. And sure. I don't really love that as a thought process. Like, maybe, and look, I don't know. Actually, I don't know how I'd feel now that I'm thinking about this, but it would be interesting if you have an offensive line, if you where multiple guys outplay Titus Howard, and it would have to be basically 4 guys that outplays Titus Howard in my mind. It would have to be 2 tackles and 2 guards that outplay him for him to not be a starter. Well, then, damn, I feel like you might be in a pretty good place if it's like, hey, Titus Howard is actually a backup on this because so many of these dudes played in such a way where they take over those starting roles. So, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know that would be a place that I'd look to. But I hear what you're saying on his mentality. However, I feel more comfortable with the idea that he's going to come in with the right mentality. One, because, I mean, dudes understand what you put on tape and, you know, what you put out here matters no matter where you are. But 2, that was a dude who oftentimes it felt like he did not want to move around and get into different places. And last year, now he felt like he was a lot more amenable to doing a thing that previously he would not have done. It feels like he is, I don't know, softening on the idea of like really taking one for the team, or maybe he is having a level of realization of the things that are necessary to make yourself more palatable to employers, right? When maybe you're not doing the thing at the optimum level, is make yourself more versatile or what have you. Or I don't know if it's just him getting more mature as a player and getting to a place where he feels, just more team oriented or what have you. But ultimately, it feels like he is maturing and progressing in that way where I would find it kind of shocking if all of a sudden he got to a place where he was, and I know this isn't quite what you're saying, but the only word that comes to mind is like diva-ish when you come over to training camp. I just can't see that happening. And if it does, I think then you handle it accordingly, because that would be a unique situation.
For sure. And yeah, definitely. I don't think he would react like that either. Titus doesn't seem like that type of person, even though, like, yes, he's one of them flashy guys that likes to dress just like Tussle was, and you can tell he took up some habits from Tussle outside the field. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, that's just something I thought about. Of course, like, I feel like Titus is a starter. He can definitely start. But like you said, if somehow he gets beat out, that's a good problem, to be totally honest, because that means, hey, shoot, we got some guys that's better than we thought they would be. But at the end of the day, I hope he's here for the at least for this upcoming season, and definitely do us, good service for sure.
Yeah, and the good thing about him too, right? He's like an Army Swiss knife, Swiss Army knife. Like, he played guard, he played tackle, so it's something to have. Just like last year, when somebody went down, he could replace him. So I hope he stays on the roster. The only thing that concerns me is his injury history. But like I said, it's a violent sport. Everybody's gonna get hurt. So that we just gotta talk that.
Don't be surprised if we play this whole season.
That's contract year. Yeah. So Reggie, before we ask one question each about you, tell me, what is your floor for the Texans, and what is the ceiling come end of January playoff time?
Oof. And I feel like here's the funny thing. I feel like the floor is not too far from what you were last year, because again, I feel like the way that you get there is the defense is probably still going to be pretty damn solid. Like, maybe not as dominant, right? Because again, the things that you concerned or that you worry about when it comes to defense is that year over year, you cannot assume that the takeovers are in the same way, or they're in the same way. However, I feel like you can't necessarily just think that all those takeaways go away because of two dudes, Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. They will get pressure on the quarterback. Like, if they don't, hell is frozen over, or something else kind of catastrophic has happened. We know that the defense ties, the front end ties to the back end pressure is going to inevitably lead to at least, if some level of takeaways or at least turnovers. So the defense, I feel like, is still going to be solid. Like, maybe it's not as good there in the worst case scenario. And then obviously the worst case scenario is that the offense looks just as bad, where you are like CJ Stroud is flustered. Your offensive line, with the talent that you have, does not gel in the way that you do. But still, you have a few Mr. Makins, a little something out of nothing when it comes to Nico Collins as the caliber of player where no matter how bad it gets, he will look good. You have Joe Mixon. I was about to call him prime time or what have you. But like Joe Mixon is going to make a little something out of nothing. How do we know this? He did it last year. So like, I think that you still end up like probably as a 9-win team in a worst case scenario in my mind, where you are probably still winning the AFC South, or at least contending for the AFC South. And the best case scenario is a scary one where you're winning maybe like 12, 13 games. And now being in a situation where you feel comfortable playing against these teams at the top, maybe even going into the places that you need to, like going on the road and having a good competition, having the conversations that get easier. How do we feel about CJ versus that guy over there, right? How do we feel about CJ versus Lamar? How do we feel? Like, I think that's what the table that you want to set is, get yourself to where everything works so smoothly that now it's just like, hey, CJ, this is where we need you to be the dude that's over the top. Because he has not had the opportunity yet to beat that guy, and that'd be really, really fun. But yeah, worst case scenario feels like a 9-win team, and maybe I want to knock on wood because I don't want to get anywhere near that and figure out what that looks like.
Right.
But it feels like the baseline is still in a good space.
Right, and the good thing too about 13 wins, right? Like, you get home field advantage. Like, you're second place, maybe third place, and you still get that a little bit of home field advantage if the cards fall right. So that way we don't go in the cold. I'm okay with that 110% because I'm tired of seeing my quarterback struggle in the cold. So I'll take that for sure. Well, Reggie, before we let you go, we got a couple questions for one each for you. You said you're a home H-Town kid. We love it. You went to Dallas for a little bit. Now you came back. Now tell me, other than I-45 South, what is the best thing about Dallas?
Ooh, okay. This is an interesting question. Because there are things that I enjoyed about Dallas, but they're largely personal, right? I met some cool people within Dallas that have been like really good to me and such. And obviously, when you work in the industry that I do, talking to folks over the radio, they become a part of your life or you become a part of theirs. And, people have been pretty good to me. So I don't want to be a jerk about it. However, in this moment, having a little bit of a tough time doing that right now. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, so here's the one thing I will say, and I will absolutely say this is something that Dallas has better than Houston, and I won't say that it's like great across the board. And don't shoot me for this, because again, I have really enjoyed my time back in Houston. I am very happy right now. The public transit situation is better.
Okay.
Like being able to hop on a train or what have you. Although the bus situation isn't better, funny enough. But like being able to hop on a train, move around, go to the airport on a train and stuff. I appreciated that personally as a dude who likes living in the city itself, maybe moving around sometimes without the car. That I definitely enjoyed quite a bit, being able to do that. But yes, that's the thing that came to mind for me is the train.
But the best thing, right, is I-45 South, right? That's the best thing in Dallas.
It is a good thing. I will say it is good to be able to come through to Houston.
I have a whole bunch of friends that are Dallas fans, and I tell them all it's the only good thing in Dallas.
Hey, be nice to them. They're hurting right now. Okay.
Hey, I've been there. I've done that. They got to suck up like I have. So, it just makes us stronger. You know what I mean? So, Kendo, you got a question for Mr. Reggie?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Other than appreciate you coming on, man.
Yes, sir.
So,
I apologize that my camera decided to stop working in the middle of this, but yeah.
Hey, it's not a show unless we have technical difficulties, right? So we'll take it. Well, I got one more since Kendo does got one. Me and Crenshaw, we're big foodies. We love. I mean, as you can tell, we're big backs. We like to eat. Who has the better food? Dallas
it's Houston. Like you don't even have to get that finished. I see Crenshaw in the chat saying Dallas has some decent food. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that for them. You don't have to do that for them. Hey, like, look, they got some good food. If you got money and you are pretentious, right? They got some nice upscale restaurants. I feel like Houston is one of the best working class blue collar food cities in the world. Like people talk about the places like Chicago in those kind of terms. Obviously, New York gets that kind of love. Houston should absolutely be in that place, man. I fought for my life for over a decade looking for a spot, like a Chinese food spot that I liked. And it's all right compared to being here in Houston. Like, buddy, I can get Chinese that will be incredible. I can get this Cajun food. Like I can roll out right now and in 5 minutes get me a po' boy that's better than anything that I've had in Dallas all this time. Like, no, absolutely. Like, absolutely. It is Houston, bar none. Without question.
Well, our brother from the chat, he has a question. He said, "What's the best food you had so far in Houston?"
Since being back in Houston, that's tough.
Everything, right?
There's so much. Like, there's so many things that's flooding into mind. And what's funny is I literally have a working doc on my phone of recommendations of places that I need to go and check. Like I just need to get back to because I have not been to. So I'm still working through that myself. And I know that there's going to be some good things on there. I know I'm forgetting something. I feel bad about it, but no, it's hard to think of all the ones. Like funny enough, I just keep thinking about Chinese food because it really is the spot that I just hit up all the damn time is like Panda Garden right around the corner, and it's so good. And yes, Houston is a melting pot of all cultures, which makes me want to bond meat right now. Yeah, just everything is great. Everything is good.
Well, Reggie, if you ever find yourself in a smaller town, kind of outside of Houston, called Tomball.
Yes.
My aunt has a restaurant called The Nook.
Okay.
And it's a breakfast joint, and it's from like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. They are known for the best simmer rolls in Texas. Guy Fieri came on there and did a little, that diner dive-ins, drives, whatever.
Yes.
But if you're in the mood for a killer simmer roll, check them out and tell them I sent you. They'll hook you up big time.
Okay, I am writing that down as we speak.
Yeah.
You said the Nook Tomball cinnamon roll, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, big bet. I appreciate that very much.
Everybody loves a big simmer roll, especially in Texas, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like I told you earlier, I live in Kansas City and I got a simmer roll and they said it was huge. It was like this big. I'm like, man, that's nothing. Like ones compared to home, they're like, So yeah, trash. It's trash. I can't wait to go back home. Well, Reggie, like Keno said, man, thank you for coming on. It's a pleasure.
It was a pleasure, man. I appreciate you, fine fellas.
We're definitely going to have you back on. Especially during the season, kind of see if we were right. See if all of our takes hopefully pan out. If not, hopefully they just because they get paid for the big bucks, right? We don't. So,
man, who you telling?
Right, absolutely. But Reggie, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and what you got cooking, so that way we can support you.
As always, man, it's I'm in the loop on Sports Radio 610, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every weekday at Reginald Adetula on Twitter. I've been slacking on my pimping when it comes to Twitter, to be completely honest, but that's where I'm at, to be completely honest. I've been I guess trying to eat out here and just get back into the Houston swing of things. Yeah,
and John's been spoiling you with some good old barbecue, huh?
Well, yeah, man. He has made some barbecue, and then I just got a new bottle of the OG sauce, so I might need to make some wings here in a second, just to get a little taste of that. But yeah, John's been treating me right. I'm greatly appreciative of that, man.
Absolutely. Well, Reggie, have a good night. Stay blessed, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, appreciate you, fellas.
Yes, sir. Keno, where can we find you on social media and what you got cooking? That way we can support you.
Y'all can find me on YouTube and Twitter or X at Here Ken Out. And of course I'll be cooking up some videos. Y'all stay tuned. Y'all give me a follow, subscribe, and be on the lookout for new content dropping. And yeah, man, continue to support the Texans Fan Battle page. You know what I'm saying? We got some segments coming, so be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And like always, follow our brothers that couldn't make it tonight. Fifth Word Crenshaw at Fifth Word Crenshaw everywhere. He has some technical difficulties. We're gonna have to fix this out because we gotta have discussions like we do in the chat, because that is A plus content. Right, yeah, yes, sir. And then also follow our brother Paddleful at Texans TV everywhere. He just got his Instagram going and it's jumping. And of course, our brother Johnny Honcho at H-Town Honcho 713. And like Keno said, man, we're going to have some videos popping off shortly. Hopefully, the first one will be uploaded tomorrow. I got a couple coming out. So be on the lookout. Texas Fan Battle everywhere. Until next week, stay blessed. Have a good week. Even though the Rockets are out, we're going with the Ant-Man. All right, so he has to do the dirty work for us. So let's go, Timberwolves. We're out. We'll see you next week.